Welcome everybody to this webinar. It's the new installment of our AI Horizons webinar series. And it's a pleasure to be here to introduce the new publication we have for you, which is called the Wharton Blueprint for Effective AI Chatbots. And this product is a collaboration between Wharton and Science Says. My name is Stefano Puntoni. I'm a professor of marketing here at the Wharton School and also one of the co-directors of the Wharton Human AI Research. With me today, we have Thomas McKinlay, the founder of Science Says, and it's a pleasure to be able to welcome him to this webinar. Thomas, welcome.
Thank you, Stefano. Hi, everyone. I'm Thomas, the founder of Science Says, where my team and I translate the latest scientific research in marketing into practical insights which businesses can use right away. We offer a free newsletter, we have topic-specific playbooks, we have a platform with hundreds of insights, and often work one-to-one with leading brands like Mars to help them with tailored insights for their teams. Before we move on, I just also wanted to say a quick thank you to Serkan Saka, which is a senior research analyst from my team, which also helped us put together this blueprint. And yeah, excited to jump in.
Great, thanks, Thomas. And indeed, thank you to the whole team that made this possible. I should say that for me, it's quite special to be able to do this webinar together with Thomas because we go back a long time. When I was a professor at another university, about a decade ago, I had the luck to have Thomas as my student and my actually research assistant. And I think some of the passion for academic research that Thomas brings in Science Says might have originated from that moment. And I've been delighted to see him create a really interesting company. In fact, I would say if you are interested in marketing and academic research in a very broad sense, understanding what's new and what we can learn from latest findings of peer-reviewed work in order to do better business, I think you have to register and subscribe to his newsletter. It's one of the best sources I know out there. Okay, let me start here by saying again, this is about this new publication, the Wharton Blueprint for Effective AI Chatbots. And what we thought we'd do is to giving you a little bit of a sense for the content of the blueprint, give you some of our maybe favorite results that we talked about it, and hopefully convince you that this is a blueprint that you have to download. If you are interested in the topic of chatbots, I think this is a must-have resource. So without further ado, Thomas, why don't you start out?
Yes, thank you. So what is this blueprint about? So what we did is that we reviewed the latest scientific research in the design and how to frame AI chatbots and how to better understand, for example, when they should be more human-like or anthropomorphic or machine-like, and what those effects are and why you should choose one design versus the other, or even dynamically change the way your AI chatbot speaks with customers. It's an easy way to really improve your customer satisfaction, improve the feeling that your customers will have towards your brand, and in many cases, many of these techniques also saw an uplift in actual sales and products that were recommended by these AI chatbots. One quick tip, one pro tip I would also suggest is that once you go through the blueprint and you understand how it's working, you can either take parts of it or even try putting the entire blueprint as part of your instructions to the AI powering your chatbot. And that will quick start what the results that you will be getting from your chatbot. But why now? Why does it matter? And I'll pass that on to you, Stefano.
Yeah, so this is a stats that we thought we could show it to you just to persuade you that this is a topic worth some attention. So in this paper, they look at a large number of chatbot interactions at a telecom company, and they find that basically the large majority of ratings are a 1 out of 5. And so while we make no claim that this is a representative state of affairs for all chatbots out there, also the data are probably about 5 years old by now, so I think things might be different. The point we're making with this figure is just that we can do better, and I think probably as a customer, you all have had that experience of interacting with a firm through a chatbot or some other tech-mediated device and thinking, this is not great. And so what can we do to make things better? Obviously, this is about the customer experience. And so clearly, it is going to be valuable to look at the behavioral science insights, understand the psychology of customers, and how you can design a chatbot in order to make it a better experience. This is what the blueprint is about. Now, Thomas, why don't you start with some of your favorite insights?
Yes. Thank you, Stefano. So what we did is that we picked 5 of our favorite insights from the blueprint. We have over 30 in the blueprint, just to give you an idea. But these should give you a good taste of what are some of these actions, these techniques which you can apply, and what are also the effects. So let's kick off with the first one, which is one of my favorites. And what this research found is that if you label your AI chatbots as constantly learning, so this is a simple change, right? Like, do they have a label saying it's constantly learning or not? People preferred that, and they were more likely to follow advice from that AI. In this case, the study was about financial advice, but it should also apply in a large quantity of settings. And so what you can see here is that from this small tweak, you can see quite significant effects, and these quickly will add up. So what is the practical takeaway here? Make sure that, in first place, that it actually is learning, but usually your AI chatbots will be. Clearly display this to your customers whenever they're using it. Explain, if you can, how it improves. So, for example, learns from feedback over various transactions or other choices and recommended products that other customers choose. And definitely try to avoid having static descriptions there. So saying, for example, last updated in August 2024. That would backfire in this case. And to give you an illustration of what this would mean is that think of it as you have a trainee giving you stock advice on which stocks to buy. If already you know that this trainee is saying, I learn from every stock I buy or sell, your confidence already increases towards them, and you'll trust the trajectory, and you're more likely to trust them over time, right? Versus someone that is kind of static and never really improving. So you can think of it that way, and just make sure that, yes, on almost any chatbot that you're using, that you would apply this label and frame it this way. The second one of my favorite insights is that you should be showing examples of your AI's accuracy. So what the research found is that people would trust up to 22% more in AI when there were examples and evidence of its success, right? So here the example we give is like, you booked 531 flights today. That gives the confidence to the user that, okay, it's actually accomplishing successfully what it says it does. You can also say, for example, how many of the users or of your customers loved its recommendations, its product recommendations, if that's your goal, right? If you're using it in an e-commerce setting, for instance. And what this research finds is that it's better to avoid overwhelming explanations of how the AI works. And even if you think of it in a different kind of setting, different type of products, it's similar to saying, this dishwasher has cleaned 1 million plates without breaking them, versus trying to explain the technicalities of how it does so, what's the rinse cycle, and all the details behind that, right? So you can think of it in a similar way. Before we move into the third insight, there's some important differences that we need to keep in mind into like how chatbots act or change, also depending on the conversations. And I'll leave Stefano to explain you that. This is absolutely his area of expertise.
Thanks, Thomas. And this area of research on customer interaction with chatbots has been very vibrant and very lively over the last 5 years. Lots of people worldwide are working in this area for obvious reasons. And if you look at the literature, maybe the most important lens that people have used to try to understand customer experience of AI has been this idea of chatbots really varying along a continuum on this dimension of human likeness. And so there are some chatbots that are really designed to be machine-like. So there's no reference to any humanizing cue, like a name or anything like that. And these chatbots are very, very dry, in a way cold, you could say, very machine-like. And other chatbots are oftentimes instead including cues in their interface or in the way that they interact that are very much more human-like. For example, you might give them a name, you might give them anthropomorphic features like eyes, or even make them look like a real person, or the language used by the chatbot would be very human-like. Maybe you use expressions that are more informal, or a little, or right, or ways of speaking that people use, and that are not necessarily associated to the way that a computer communicates. And what's interesting about this is that a lot of the research that's been done in this space has let's say, mostly documented the positive effects of human-like features. If you make your chatbots more anthropomorphic, oftentimes people have been able to measure positive effects on things like liking or the quality of the interaction or satisfactions or items like that. But the interesting thing about it is that it's not really a black and white picture. In fact, you're going to have contingencies in the impact of human-like or anthropomorphic cues on customer responses, depending on the context, depending on the goal of the consumer, depending on the way that the interaction unfolds and why the consumer is there in the first place. So what we're going to do now is to share a couple of examples of how that might lead to different strategic decisions about the design of your chatbot. Now, this one, the first one we're going to show you is basically to show that sometimes, what are the goals of interacting with a chatbot? There might be many, and in some situations that might be to get consumers to behave in ways that may be sometimes against, concrete incentives that consumers may have. For example, to behave in ethically questionable way in order to gain some financial benefits. For example, get some benefits that they don't deserve from a company, for example. What these researchers found was that people feel worse about behaving badly, so to speak, or engaging in potentially unethical behavior when they interact with a human than with a chatbot, and with a more human-like chatbot too. And so if you are in a situation where your customer interactions may raise concerns with the fact that consumers may sometimes tell lies or behave in unethical ways, maybe in that particular context, using very human-like chatbots would improve outcomes by making fraud by the customer less likely to occur. And so this is one concrete recommendation where, depending on the specific context of application, you might decide that actually human likeness is an important device you can use to improve the outcome for your business.
And one study which finds the opposite situation, right? So when you want to avoid these human-like characteristics in particular, is when your customers are angry. So I love this study. They tested human-like versus machine-like chatbots when customers were angry, were emotional. Imagine, for example, your flight just got canceled, and what they find is that these human-like chatbots created much higher expectations, and they were also quite likely to fail, especially in the situations that the customer is already angry, frustrated, maybe even in a rush. And it was much better instead in these situations to have a machine-like bot try to also communicate, for example, what are the limitations, right? Saying, hey, I'm just an AI. There's only so much you can do. Yes, I'm doing my best to help you, but it should not act human-like. For example, trying to offer empathy and kind of almost make it feel that they're wasting the customer's time too. So this is a situation where, even if your AI chatbot is normally in appearance more human-like, more anthropomorphic, you could even program it to understand when customers are frustrated, and in those situations adapt its tone of voice to, instead of saying, I hope you're having a great day, to get straight to the point and try to resolve the problem. So this is one example. And another one, another great insight, which finds that it's better to use machine-like chatbots, is when you're delivering bad news. So this would be situations in which, for example, you're giving rejections, or a customer requested a quote and you're giving a higher than expected price. Well, what this research finds is that people will be more likely to accept that higher price when it's delivered by an AI. That's a strong reason to keep your AI machine-like too, and to avoid making it feel human-like. So you can also use it in other situations. For example, refused refund. Think of it like one example you can think is also, imagine you're calling an Uber and there's surge pricing. That algorithm is quite objective, right? It's something that is quite calculated. It's math. If you're trying to call a taxi with a classic dispatcher, and you're speaking to a person and they tell you, no, it's going to cost you 3 times more than usual, you're going to take that quite differently, right? So it's not that different in terms of the mechanism behind it. So these are some of our favorite examples. But before we leave you, I wanted to use this opportunity to ask a couple of questions to Stefano, since we have here one of the leading researchers in the space of human and AI interactions, which is everything that this blueprint is about. And so just to take advantage of some of your time, Stefano, I hope that's okay. I wanted to start off with one question, which I often hear from Science Says subscribers, and I would like to use this occasion to ask you. And this is, what should companies focus on to create AI customer interactions that people will love? So, we discussed many different things in the blueprint, but what matters the most? Where should they focus?
Thanks, Thomas. I would answer that question maybe. It might be a little bit vague, but I think it's more of a mindset thing. And of course, there's a lot of insights into the blueprint, like dozens of things that you can look through and figure out a little bit for you, for your business, your chatbots, what makes sense. But in general, I think that as the technology has gotten better and better, increasingly designing chatbots that produce great customer experiences is no longer really an engineering problem. That problem, I think, is largely solved. I'm oversimplifying, but I think basically that the engineering is not the main issue anymore. I think the main issue now is the user experience, understanding, and the insights that you have into how to create interfaces that delight customers and that lead to most positive outcomes. So in a way, I think the next frontier of company attention in this area is really not computer science, but behavioral science. Is understanding how to make it work for the customer rather than just how to make it work. That would be my main, answer to that broad question, I'd say.
Amazing. No, thank you, Stefano. I mean that makes sense, right? Like the advances in AI models that we're seeing, it's starting to many situations and more like be indistinguishable, like who is behind even a chatbot if we wanted to, right? Like is it an AI speaking? Is it a human? We had ChatGPT 4.5 recently passed the Turing test. So yeah, I love that, and this is an area in which you have been doing a lot of research, Stefano. So thank you. And speaking of your research, but not only, the second question, this one instead is from me, and I would like to ask you what's next in the space of AI human research. What excites you the most, even beyond just chatbots?
Yeah, many things, and I think basically right now there are probably hundreds of researchers working in universities all over the world in trying to understand the question of human AI interaction, and many of them actually in the space of customer firm interaction, so directly relevant to marketing and to business. I think that we'll see increasing amount of research that will add to the insights of this blueprint. So I think it would be great also to keep this updated over time and see what new discoveries people make in all kind of corners of this large space that is the question about human AI interaction. But I think in a way what excites me the most is to study broader implications of generative AI and chatbots in particular for consumer well-being, for relationships, for identity, and basically for society overall, meaning beyond the particular narrow scope of understanding how to devise a chatbot that maximizes customer satisfaction, user satisfaction in terms of the brand or the product or the chatbot itself. Those are all very important questions which we cover in the blueprint. I think there's also big questions about what does it mean to live in a society where maybe many times a day we are going to interact in a very seamless, natural way with agents who are not human. And we've never had that in the history of our species. And so I think we really don't know. And there might be a lot of positive, wonderful outcomes, and also there are certainly some obvious risks around around the corner when it comes to socio-emotional development, into the ability of people to forge meaningful relationships with others, and a lot of other questions that may also have to do with things like polarization in society, community, and generally well-being of individuals and larger collectives. So I think that's basically the space where I hope we will see, and I'm sure actually we will see lots of work uncovering all the ways in which this amazing technology is going to change the way we do things, the way that we feel about ourselves, the way that we form relationships with firms, with other individuals, relationships that might be friendship, work-wise, or maybe romantic even. So I'm curious to see how that space evolves. Some of it has to do with the technology development too, and we don't know, how these algorithms will be 5 years from now, who knows? But they're already very, very good. So in fact, they don't have to get much better to have very, very big ramifications for all kind of stuff that we care about in our lives.
No, thank you, Stefano. And I think it's really interesting how you touch upon also the relationship that the people are creating with AIs, with AI chatbots, and I believe there were some interesting findings there. I think also part of your research or some of your colleagues, which were quite interesting in finding that it helps people are able to have these conversations, but they are not still feeling the depth of a real connection at the moment. do you see that changing potentially in the future?
What we find in our research is that people acknowledge that interacting with a chatbot friend has some very strong concrete features of friendships, including the fact that they're not judgmental, they're always available, they want you to be happy, things like that. At the same time, people also acknowledge, have this belief that these are not real relationships. They often, use expression is not a true friend. And the reason why they do that is that the friendship has that abstract value of reciprocal commitment and caring, which is not possible to really have with a non-sentient being. Like a chatbot is not conscious and as such doesn't care about anything, it cannot care about you the way that you might care about a friend. And so that's one element of it. But we do find that nevertheless, these chatbots can have quite powerful effects on our emotions. For example, we find that just 15 minutes talking to a chatbot feel people experience markedly less loneliness. And I think in a society where social connections are becoming basically a big issue for many people, that might be interesting to think about. But just to make it even crazier, imagine going maybe 2030. Imagine that you have a child born in 2025, say, and by 2035 or maybe 2035 or whatever, this child is starting to interact with technology and is growing up having all this virtual friends and AI buddies. And what does it do to you? Is it a good thing, is it a bad thing? How does it change you? It changes in some way, I'm sure. And so I think these questions is something that we are just starting to scratch the surface, and I think a lot more work is needed.
Yeah, very good questions. Very fascinating. I'm looking forward to your next research papers in this space and to your next projects.
Yeah, thanks, Thomas. And I want to emphasize that this is one of the key goals of the Wharton Human AI Research Center, which is to basically help develop answers to these kind of questions, both to help businesses, but also to help understand policymakers and companies and all of us, what are the likely ramifications of the development of these new technologies.
Yeah, please keep it up. And we reached the ending of our session. I would like to thank you so much, Stefano, for this. You can find the QR code here on this slide if you want to download the blueprint. Again, remember, we highly encourage that you actually go through it, you understand what's in there, but you can also use parts of it to directly start helping training the AI powering your chatbots. And if you liked the insights which we covered plenty more insights over at Science Says. We have a free one every week from the free newsletter. And thank you, Stefano. This has been fantastic. Also working on this together.
Yeah, thanks, Thomas. It's been a pleasure doing this with you. And in general, I think writing this blueprint has been fun, and I learn a lot. It's also been a pleasure to see how you've been able to create this really interesting, content about how do we bring the research that comes out of the university labs into the hands of the managers that might actually benefit from it. So thank you for doing that. And to all of you here, I really strongly, again, advise you to sign up to Science Says. You really can't go wrong when you do that. So with that, we're done. It's been fun to be here. I hope you find the blueprint interesting. Please do download it. It's for free. Let people know. It's available as a resource for anyone to benefit, who wants to benefit from. So please use it. And I hope that this will be just the first of many. So thank you all for being here, and see you at the next webinar or event that we'll organize at the Wharton Human AI Research.
Thank you. Bye-bye.